The chamber was silent but for the soft hum of the stasis fields lining its obsidian walls. A dozen members of the HFY Strategium, eldritch, insectoid beings cloaked in neural-threaded silks, gathered around a glowing oval table. Charts and models flickered in midair, cycling through representations of Earth. Blue, turbulent, defiant. At the center stood Commander Vilekthar. His exoskeletal frame slightly hunched, a rare, almost shameful sign of tension. Scars crisscrossed the chitin plates of his mandibles, and his left secondary eye bore a faint tremor. "Begin your debrief," clicked High Strategos Zekrin. "Explain how a Class 4 annexation target repelled a Dominion armada. Explain why you returned alone." Vilekthar didn't flinch. He placed a data shard on the projection table. A hologram flickered to life. Earth's moon. Then chaos. Explosions. Smoke trails. Dominion dropships spiraling out of control. Alien corpses half buried in mud. Rain pouring over them. Shouts in Terran languages. Garbled, primal, defiant. "I will say this only once," Vilekthar began. "Do not attack the humans. If you value your empire, your fleets, your lives, leave them be." Laughter, a dry, metallic rattle. From the youngest counselor, Call. "A primitive species, fractured, emotionally erratic, technologically 10,000 cycles behind. Defeated you?" Vilekthar's secondary arm reached up slowly, resting on a still mangled section of his shoulder plating. "They are fractured, yes. Erratic, yes. But that is why we lost." 72 Terran hours before first contact. The Dominion's Silent Thorn approached Earth's orbit cloaked in phase shadow, sensors feeding data back to the Dominion's conquest core. Earth was rich in resources, lightly defended, and strategically insignificant. "Their orbital net is patchwork," Lieutenant Yikra reported. "No unified command structure. Political fragmentation evident." "Commence Operation Pollenfall," Vilekthar ordered. "Deploy reconnaissance drones. Sample resistance. Begin tactical envelopment." The first squad of Railsec scouts landed in a region identified as Nevada, a dry, open terrain, ideal for capture and subjugation. They didn't expect the welcoming committee. A battered Humvee exploded beneath an IED cobbled together with alien-grade steel fragments and a garage door motor. Drones were netted midair by human hobbyist contraptions flung from modified catapults. Dominion soldiers were ambushed by civilians using thermal camo suits made of tinfoil and desert camouflage. It wasn't an army. It was chaos. Chaos wrapped in ingenuity, rage, and absurd levels of stubbornness. "They're improvising with museum tech," Yikra muttered, dragging a wounded squadmate behind cover. "They've hacked a drone using a Game Boy." Vilekthar watched from orbit, perplexed. Then the real message came. A video broadcast hijacked Dominion frequencies. The human on-screen wore desert fatigues, her face streaked with ash and sweat. Her name would later haunt Dominion databanks. General Elena Vasquez. "You think we're scattered. You think we're weak," she said, eyes locked on the camera like it was the devil himself. "We're humans. We argue. We bicker. But the moment you came here thinking you could take our world, you made one mistake. You gave us a common enemy." She smiled. "Not with joy but with promise. And we're very, very good at hating together." The debrief continues. "They call it guerrilla warfare," Vilekthar said to the council. "But it is far more than that. It is a philosophy. They embrace disorder. They wage war like it's jazz. Chaotic, improvised, but somehow always in rhythm." "You lost a skirmish," Koldev snapped. "Hardly. We lost control," Vilekthar interrupted, mandibles clicking sharply. "Within 30 Terran hours, they had reverse-engineered our drone signal structure. They were feeding false telemetry back to our fleet, creating ghost battalions. They tricked our AI into thinking New York had been vaporized. It wasn't." "Then what was it?" another counselor asked. "A Broadway performance. With speakers, holograms, smoke screens, civilians playing dead. They turned theater into warfare. And when our orbital strike teams descended, they vanished. Resistance at scale. In the following days, Earth's resistance scaled. Not through technology but with ingenuity. Vasquez activated the old grid, decommissioned satellites powered by solar trickle charges and duct tape. Human engineers began splicing Dominion armor with Earth-borne materials. One prototype exosuit was powered by car batteries, cooled by fridge compressors, and painted with football team colors. The Dominion, operating under protocols of rational dominance, simply couldn't adapt. In Berlin, hackers took down an entire scout flotilla by redirecting its target locks onto false signals projected by billboard arrays. In Tokyo, Dominion dropships were lured into a plasma trap, using thermobaric lures and LED drones. It was madness. It was poetry. It was war the way only humans could wage it. The human weapon. She led them not with hierarchy, Villector said, voice low, but with belief. Humans fight with hope, with vengeance, with emotion. They fight because they remember a friend who died, a city that burned, a song they sang before the bombs fell. You cannot model that. You cannot predict that. She is irrelevant now, spat Call. We can still crush them. Villector stared at the younger strategist, unblinking. Do you know what she said when we offered surrender? He played the transmission. Vasquez's voice crackled through Dominion speakers aboard a retreating command frigate. You came here expecting us to beg. Bow. You thought you were fighting children with sticks. But we're not children. We are the storm. We are the goddamn middle finger of the universe. And you just poked it. Aftermath. By the 7th day, the Dominion had lost 42% of its expeditionary fleet. Morale plummeted. Automated systems began glitching, unable to distinguish decoys from real human forces. No secure frequency remained unbreached. The decision came from above. Retreat, regroup, reassess. As Villector's flagship fled Earth's orbit, he watched a final image on the tactical display. Vasquez, standing on a ruined hilltop, holding the captured Dominion banner upside down. Behind her, a crowd. Soldiers, farmers, students, all human, stood in silence, gazing up at the stars. Back in the present, the council sat in stunned silence. The hologram dimmed. They fight like they've already lost everything, Villector said. And that makes them unstoppable. Stratego Zekrun finally spoke, voice even. So, you recommend what? Appeasement. I recommend avoidance, Villector said. Do not provoke them. Let them grow. Let them be. Or mark the end of the Dominion. Ov stood. I will not be ruled by fear of primitives. Villector didn't reply. He simply turned, walking from the chamber with a final murmur in his own tongue, a whisper translated by the translator drones as, "They will bury us in the dirt we thought worthless." Smoke coiled over the ruins of what used to be a Dominion forward outpost in northern Europe. A gutted alien crawler tank smoldered in the rain, its once sleek alloy hull torn open by a farmer's tractor engine converted into a kinetic ram. From orbit, the data looked incomprehensible. How had the humans breached Dominion nanoshields using junkyard magnetic coils? Why were Dominion logistics convoys being disrupted by what appeared to be gliders made of canvas and garden wire? Commander Villector knew. He had seen it firsthand. The Strategium's debate. Back at the Strategium chamber. His debrief continued. The holographic display shifted from images of scorched Earth battlegrounds to data streams and intercepted human transmissions. Words flickered in alien symbols above them. Enemy cannot be categorized. Tactical case. Unstable logic profiles. They're not just fighting us with weapons, Villector said, tapping the console with a twitching claw. They're fighting us with their minds. The council scoffed. Primitive minds, sneered Counselor Vreth II. They rely on superstition, emotion, irrationality. Exactly, Villector said. And that irrationality is their most dangerous weapon. Flashback, psychological warfare begins. 3 days into the invasion, Dominion forces advanced into what had been Poland. Their AI-generated campaign plan was flawless: cut through infrastructure hubs, isolate population centers, apply orbital precision strikes. Fell apart almost immediately. Cities evacuated within minutes, using repurposed traffic alert systems. Entire buildings disappeared from the AI's tactical overlay, hidden beneath reflective tarps and heat-masking scaffolds. What appeared to be a city full of civilians turned out to be cardboard cutouts. The real population had escaped underground. Even worse were the broadcasts. On every Dominion frequency, humans began broadcasting strange signals. Voices reading from history books, playing war movies, delivering passionate, cryptic monologues. One particular audio file spread like a virus through Dominion ships. "This is not your world. This is not your war. But it will be your grave if you stay." The voice was unmistakable. General Elena Vasquez. The mind of Vasquez. In the bunkers beneath Berlin, Vasquez met with her ragtag team of engineers, linguists, historians, and hackers. Their new goal wasn't to fight the Dominion directly. It was to scramble their perception of reality. "These bugs run on algorithms," she said, pointing to Dominion logic patterns mapped on the wall in colorful chalk. "So we feed them contradictions. We weaponize the one thing they don't understand." "What's that?" asked an exhausted teenage codebreaker beside her. "Us," she said, with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Key operation: Project Babbletrap. Human forces launched Project Babbletrap, a psychological operation designed to overload Dominion AI behavior filters. They created artificial emotional patterns, laugh tracks, crying infants, orchestral war music, and embedded them in Dominion comms. Some alien machines began to hesitate in battle, misidentifying crying sounds as wounded comrades. Others developed glitch empathy and paused fire at the sound of laughter. Dominion's cold, binary logic had no protocol for emotional dissonance. Worse still, Vasquez's team hacked Dominion linguistic processors. Translations of simple phrases became corrupted. Instead of "I surrender," Dominion AI now heard, "Come closer so I can tear your eyes out." The cracking of the machine. Vilekthar's logs showed entire divisions halted mid-march due to false emotional threat triggers. Machines were demanding re-verification of logic trees. Some Dominion commanders were forced to disable emotional parsing modules entirely, reducing effectiveness in the field by 42%. "They turned their emotional spectrum into a weapon," Vilekthar said during the debrief. "They lied to our machines in ways even our truth scramblers couldn't detect." Counselor Kolov, still skeptical, jabbed a claw at the projection. "Even if they manipulate systems, their biology is fragile. Break their cities and they'll break." "You don't understand," Vilekthar said. "They're used to things breaking. The fire that forged them." In another flashback, Vilekthar stood on a ravaged hilltop in what had been Kiev. Rain fell hard, slapping down ash and blood. Bodies, human and Dominion alike, lay strewn across the fields. Human survivors dragged broken equipment behind them, already rebuilding another communications array. A child, no more than 10 Terran years old, stared at him from across the field. She wasn't crying. She simply picked up a helmet twice her size and put it on. Then she walked away toward the ruins. Vilekthar remembered the dread that rose in him, not from her size or strength, but from her silence. "They don't fall like we do," he told the Strategium. "Every loss makes them angrier. They are never done." The turning point, the siege of Paris. The Dominion's largest ground victory was in Paris, where they finally encircled and cornered one of Earth's major command nodes. They assumed surrender was imminent. Instead, Vasquez ordered an old subway system flooded. While Dominion tanks drowned, her team detonated explosive lures to simulate their own HQ being destroyed. By the time the Dominion realized it had been a decoy, Vasquez's real HQ had relocated to a museum basement, shielded by lead, concrete, and Renaissance marble. Her final transmission during the siege became legend. "Tell your leaders this. We wrote the book on revolution. We invented no-win scenarios just so we could beat them. We do not break. We adapt. Every hour you stay here, we become something you can't comprehend. Back in the Strategium, Vilekthar stood silent as his report concluded. The hologram showed a timeline of Dominion failures overlaid with quotes from human media. Movie lines, protest chants, even memes. They don't just fight with guns, he said. They fight with culture. Diaz. Myth. Every death becomes a rallying cry. Every mistake becomes a strategy. Counselor Vreth too leaned forward, mandibles twitching. And what would you have us do? Flee? No, Vilekthar said. I would have you remember this. We fight with precision. They fight with conviction. And conviction always lasts longer. Final notes on the human mind. The debrief ended with a recording from a captured Dominion scout. The alien, once fearless, now trembled. They laughed while dying, it whispered. They joked, as if death was entertainment. I shot one in the leg and he smiled and threw a grenade at me. From the back of the Strategium chamber, an old strategist spoke. Then perhaps the humans are not a species to conquer, he said. Perhaps they are a species to fear. Vilekthar didn't reply. He merely nodded. Closing scene. The human network awakens. In a dark control room beneath the Rocky Mountains, General Vasquez leaned over a flickering console. Patch me into the old spy satellite grid, she told her techs. I want eyes everywhere. We've won the first battle. And the next. Aid. Vasquez looked up at a star map, Dominion systems blinking red. Next, she said, we teach them what humanity does after we survive. Commander Vilekthar stood alone in the void chamber of the Dominion flagship Obsidian Vow, orbiting a quiet moon on the fringe of the Sol system. Below him, Earth hung in the black like a defiant wound, a small, furious planet that refused to die. He watched it in silence. They were not supposed to be capable of resistance at this scale. They were not supposed to fight back. A new war begins. 3 weeks after the failed annexation of Earth, the Railzek Dominion reformed its expeditionary command under Total Excision Protocol. No negotiation, no occupation. Erase humanity, sterilize Earth. What Vilekthar didn't know, what the Dominion couldn't fathom, was that humanity had already begun planning their counterattack. In an abandoned research station buried beneath Alaska's permafrost, General Elena Vasquez paced before a team of human and alien defectors. Scientists, engineers, ex-Dominion drones, and one sharp-eyed teenager who called herself Cassie Jeanne. The Dominion's problem, Vasquez began, is they think we're playing the same game. She tapped a schematic on the cracked wall screen. A Dominion war cruiser. We're not. We're not trying to beat them in a fight. We're going to steal their goddamn starship. Humanity's first offensive. The mission, Operation Goliath Stone, was audacious bordering on suicidal. Vasquez's resistance cell would use hijacked Dominion comm signatures to spoof a repair request to an orbital shipyard near Neptune, lure a lightly staffed cruiser in, and then infiltrate and seize it from the inside. No Terran government signed off. No nation funded it. It was entirely crowdsourced, from black market code in Sao Paulo to rocket fuel brewed in DIY bunkers across the Midwest. Engineers repurposed parts from deep-sea oil rigs to build the boarding platform. Teenagers hacked satellite paths. Retired astronauts volunteered without hesitation. Because if Earth was to survive, it needed to do more than resist. Needed to bite back. First contact. Reversed. When the Dominion cruiser Valorous Fong arrived at Neptune's edge, it expected a quick diagnostic update and minor refueling. Instead, it received a boarding spike fired from a dead comet surface, a human-built breaching drill encased in rock. The humans called it the toothpick. The Valorous Fong's interior went dark in 5 minutes. By the time emergency subsystems came online, Vasquez and her strike team were already deep inside, wearing exosuits cobbled together from Dominion armor, diving gear and power tools. The ship's Dominion crew, confused and disoriented by hacked life support overlays, fired at holograms and heat ghosts. One human wielded a flamethrower made from industrial adhesive and napalm derived from old cooking oil. "We're in," Vasquez shouted over comms. "Begin Phase 2. Cassie Jeanne, now piloting a bootstrapped AI from a converted gaming rig, uploaded a virus into the ship's core. The virus was simple in concept, brutal in execution. It translated Dominion command logic into human metaphors. The ship began interpreting orders like ascend tactical as rise and grind, and purge intruders as take a deep breath and relax. The Dominion crew was effectively blind. The knife in the dark. Back in Dominion High Command, news of the hijacking caused chaos. No species had ever seized a warcruiser. It wasn't just humiliating, it was existentially terrifying. "These primitives," Zekrun snarled, "should not be capable of interstellar boarding actions." "They are not primitives," Vilekthar corrected calmly. "They are us, if we had nothing left to lose and everything left to prove." Inside the beast. As Vasquez and her team secured the command deck, the scale of the operation hit her. The ship stretched like a cathedral into the void, full of alien architecture shaped by cold logic. Yet here they were, scuffing its floors with combat boots and tool belts. "Is it me," said a team member over the comms, "or does this place feel like a temple?" "It is," Vasquez replied. To themselves. At the bridge, Dominion officers put up a desperate last stand. But humans were no longer afraid. A welder named Marcus Briggs fired a salvaged particle rifle point-blank while screaming the lyrics to an old punk song. A biologist used a vial of bacteria engineered to mimic Dominion pheromones and sowed panic among defenders. When it was done, Vasquez stood alone at the captain's helm. Blood soaked her sleeve. Smoke curled from the control panel. She looked into the ship's primary lens and said, "Earth is no longer your prey. We are the hunter now." Backlash and consequences. The valorous Fong was renamed the Athena, and within days, human signals burst from its comms array across the solar system. To the Dominion, this was more than war. It was heresy. A species that had just discovered warp physics was now flying one of their sacred warships. They responded as they always did, with overwhelming force. A fleet of 5 Dominion destroyers entered Sol's Edge, preparing to annihilate the Athena and Earth along with it. But they didn't know what Vasquez had already planned. The trap at Titan. Using the Athena's Dominion comm signature, Vasquez transmitted a false signal indicating that Earth had been abandoned and the Athena disabled near Titan. When the fleet arrived, they encountered what looked like a lifeless cruiser drifting among the rings. Then the rings exploded. Human engineers working in secret had filled Titan's orbit with thousands of old satellites, shipping containers, and warheads attached to magnetic accelerators. They called it the Halo Net. The instant the Dominion ships came into range, hundreds of projectiles shredded their hulls, guided not by precision targeting, but overwhelming quantity. And hidden among them were mining pods retrofitted as kamikaze drones. They tore through one Dominion ship after another. HFY moment. The impossible kill. As one Dominion destroyer bore down on the Athena, refusing to be baited, Vasquez gave the order. Engage God Killer Protocol. Cassie Jeanne activated a dormant function within the Athena, a forgotten failsafe in the Dominion ship's core systems. It overloaded the fusion drive, channeled through an electromagnetic lens designed for planetary bombardment. The result? A direct energy burst so focused it cut the destroyer in half like a scalpel through flesh. A kill so surgical, so impossible by human standards, that the Dominion Command Corps later labeled it an act of myth. Aftermath. Only one Dominion destroyer survived. It fled the system, its captain broadcasting one message in looping binary. They killed a god. With laughter in their throats. Do not return. Back on Earth. Vasquez sat in the Athena's command chair, now patched with duct tape and coffee stains. Cassie leaned over a console, adjusting power ratios and joking about turning the ship's gravity settings into a roller coaster. Across the ship, humans sang. Some wept. A few slept for the first time in days. They had done the unthinkable. not just survived. They had become a spacefaring threat. Closing scene. Dominion core world. On the Dominion homeworld, deep in the crystalline chambers of their ancient memory vaults, a new directive was added to the Grand Codex. Avoid Earth. Do not provoke the Terrans. They are chaos in flesh. They will not go quietly into extinction. They will teach the stars what it means to be hunted. And at the bottom, one name was stamped in red. Lena. Human. Warlord class. Status. Ascendant. The Athena hovered in low Earth orbit, its Dominion-plated hull still scarred from the battle at Titan, yet now painted with streaks of Terran color, art, graffiti, slogans. Below it, Earth slowly healed. But above, something was shifting. Humanity was no longer just defending. They were expanding. The aftermath of survival. In the weeks after the Titan ambush, global unity solidified in a way previously thought impossible. Nations disbanded military borders in favor of a planetary defense grid. Old rivalries dissolved beneath the weight of a single truth. They had faced the abyss and come back with fire in their fists. Children in refugee schools painted pictures of the Athena. Newscasters spoke in reverent tones about the day we took the sky. In one quiet corner of Colorado, Cassie Jeanne walked through a memorial garden, watching as a robotic arm carefully etched a name into the wall of the fallen. Marcus Briggs, mechanic. Hero. She placed her hand on the cold steel. Just one guy with a wrench and a flamethrower, she whispered. He changed everything, said a voice behind her. General Elena Vasquez stood in her now iconic jacket, patchy and threadbare from years of wear. But her eyes burned brighter than ever. You ready? She asked. Cassie nodded. The plan. Operation Dawnbreak. A new mission had begun. Operation Dawnbreak. Humanity's first push beyond the Sol system, not as explorers, but as a sovereign force among the stars. Their objective: reach a neutral star system, establish an independent colony, and send a galactic broadcast that would declare Earth's survival, capability, and intent. Not a plea. A statement. Humanity would no longer ask for a place in the galaxy. They would claim it. A divided dominion. On the Dominion world of Velthern Prime, panic rippled through the aristocratic caste. The humans had killed a destroyer-class warship. They had turned one of their own vessels against them. And now they were expanding. One counselor proposed orbital sterilization of Earth. Another proposed diplomatic outreach, something never before done. But the decision stalled. The humans had achieved what no other species had. They'd forced the Dominion to hesitate. They are an infection, snarled Supreme Strategist Zekrun. Every moment they live, our empire sickens. Commander Vilekthar spoke quietly from the shadows of the chamber. No, he said. They are not an infection. They are an evolution. He played a recording recovered from a Dominion escape pod. We don't come in peace. We come in pieces, and we'll rebuild ourselves better every damn time. The room fell silent. Vilekthar continued. We cannot conquer them. Our only hope is to understand them. Launch day. On Earth, launch preparations for the Horizon Ark, humanity's first deep space colony ship, reached their final hour. Built using components salvaged from the Athena, bolstered by hundreds of grassroots innovations, the Ark wasn't sleek. It looked cobbled together, armored with old train steel, solar sails made from repurposed thermal blankets. But it was alive with purpose. Cassie stood at the command terminal, heart pounding. Beside her, Vasquez looked out the viewport. Why not just stay? Cassie asked. We won. We could defend Earth forever. Vasquez shook her head. If we stay still, we become what they thought we were. Fragile. Cornered. No, humans don't survive by hiding. We thrive by moving. By daring. By telling the universe. You can't stop this species from dreaming. The message. Just before departure, a live broadcast was sent from the Ark, relayed by the Athena systems, amplified by a Dominion array in orbit. Vasquez stood before a black flag bearing a stylized star forged from steel and fire. To any who hear this, we are the humans. You tried to burn us. You tried to break us. We built our home from your wreckage. Now we come not to beg but to build. Not to follow but to rise. We will not wait for permission. We will not bow to gods. We will be the stars. The signal rippled outward, skipping through hyperlanes, bouncing off relay stations, finding its way to every major power in the galaxy. Galactic reactions. Across the stars, responses varied. Some laughed at the message. Others watched in silence. And on one distant world, a small reptilian species, long subjugated by the Dominion, whispered in secret chambers. If the humans can do it, maybe we can too. Hope is infectious. And the humans had just lit a match in a galaxy soaked in kindling. The final conflict. Dominion's last gambit. The Dominion could not allow the humans to escape their cradle unchecked. A stealth interceptor was launched, cloaked, armed, and designed to ambush the Horizon Arc during its first jump. It arrived just outside Pluto's orbit, waiting in the void like a spider in a web. But Vasquez had planned for that too. The interceptor systems were suddenly overwhelmed, blinded by a burst of pirate radio frequencies, memes, corrupted music files, and a signal looped in 37 Earth languages. Nice ship. Be a shame if something happened to it. Out of the darkness came the Athena, its hull now adorned with a single word painted in massive letters. Remember. The two ships clashed in silence, lights flickering, hulls scraping across cosmic frost. Inside the Athena, every human fought not for Earth, but for the right to exist beyond it. And when the final blow came, an overloaded pulse from the Athena's core generator, the Dominion ship cracked apart like glass. Freedom through fire. With the path clear, the Horizon Arc initiated its first jump drive ignition. Vasquez stood with Cassie as the stars around them twisted and stretched. You scared? Vasquez asked. Cassie looked ahead. No. I'm ready. The ship vanished into a new dawn. Epilogue. Years later. On a distant world of blue grass and twin suns, human children built solar towers from scavenged metal while alien neighbors traded stories with them. A mural covered the side of a habitat dome. Earth in flames, and from it, a phoenix made of scrap metal and stars. The colony's name. Defiance. Final Dominion archive entry. We came to teach them submission. They taught us what survival means. We brought them war. They brought us fire. And from that fire they forged destiny. Species 3291A. Human. Status. Galactic force. Threat level. Evolving. Directive. Do not engage. Do not provoke. Do not forget. They will be the stars.